Hello, I'm Stephen Cook with Cook Saw Manufacturing, and we wanted to answer a question today. Which end of the log do I start cutting from first? And we like to start from the small end of the log. We've got a log here. We've got several different logs, but this looks like kind of the best one just to take. It's about 12, 13 inches on this end, and on the other end, we're at about 20 inches, 21 inches maybe. So we got a pretty good taper on this log. Sometimes you'll see them a lot worse than this. And when I saw, I like to start on the small end of the log. Now, if you've got a log taper where you can lift this log up, you want to lift it about half the distance between, you don't want it perfectly level, about half the distance between this small end and that end down there. If you lift it all the way up, then when you turn it over, you've got to cut a big slab on the other side. But the reason, if I have a taper, I'll lift that up, and the reason I like to start from the small end, I have three reasons. One is, it's easier if I start right here, or just in the edge of the bark there, and cut down. I know I'm going to get a good cut. If I'm starting from the big end and coming this way, it's hard to know where to start in that. And a lot of time you'll cut into this log because we don't want to waste lumber. You'll cut in right here and it'll come out right there, and you'll drop down again and you'll cut in and you'll come out right here, and it just seems to waste time. So if I start in here, I get a big enough cut that at least I get a decent slab in my first cut. So it's a little more simple in making that first cut. The second reason is if I have as I enter the cut, I'm starting in a smaller area, and then as I go down, I get into a bigger area. Now with our sawmills, we have a spring tensioning device, and that's what I'm referring to as I get into the smaller end. And we get a cushion in that, and we believe and teach, and with our blades and with our mill, we can hit the big end and cut right on through it. But you know, as your blade gets duller, or if you're not paying as much attention, sometimes you can mess around and get a wave if you hit a big block of wood as opposed to just the little end to begin with. So it's a little more forgiving on the blade, even though if everything is tuned up right, you should be able to do that. But if we start in the little end, we're starting with just cutting a little wood, and then as we go down, it gets into wider wood and more wood to cut. So that's another reason. Part of the reason that comes about, as I mentioned, our spring tension will take some of that up, but the reason it has to is the blade actually stretches. We have a tensiometer that we use for checking how much tension we put in the blade, and with that thing you can see it'll actually move a dial indicator. Now we're only talking a few thousandths, we're not talking a quarter of an inch even. But it does affect the blade in how hard or how wide of a piece you hit. And if it eases and goes in gently as it goes down, then that's a little bit more forgiving to the blade. And the third reason I would say is if you have a drag back system. If you're sawing again from that end coming back this way, and you end up coming out of the log and you have a little sliver here, you try to drag that back. Sometimes it'll jack it up, or it just won't pull back as easily. And so going down that way, I get a bigger end and I can pull that back easier. Even at that, a lot of times I will make the second cut so that I get a full piece coming back, and that's helpful with a drag back. But those are three reasons that I like to start with the little end. If I've got one or two logs, I'm not too worried about it. If I'm sawing a whole stack of logs and one of them's the wrong way, I'm not going to spend 15 minutes turning the thing around, you know, or worrying myself with it. But if I have an option and I'm bringing logs up here and putting them in a stack, I'm going to put them so that the small end comes up onto my mill, and I'm just sawing all day long like that. So hope you enjoyed that tip for this week.